everyone. Happy Good Friday. So today I am here with you with some resurrection eggs. So for those of you who don't know what they are, you are in for a story. They are so much fun and I love them. I love how it just creatively tells the story of Jesus's resurrection. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start with some scripture and it will lead us into an egg. We will open up that egg, find out what's in it and how it relates to our story, and then we will continue on until we get to our very last egg. So let's begin. The first egg that we are going to start with is our blue egg. So I'm going to pull it out, and the scripture to go with that says, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village in front of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, you shall say, 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them at once." The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put them their cloaks, and he sat on them. Most of the crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Matthew 21, 2-3 and 6-8. So with that, what do you think is in our egg? It is a donkey. So I'll set that right there. So our first egg has a donkey in it, and that's what Jesus rode into town on. And people laid their cloaks down, just honoring him. So our next egg is our pink egg. Then one of the 12, whose name was Judas, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me if I deliver him over to you?" And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he saw an opportunity to betray him. Matthew 26, 14-16. Now let's see what's inside the pink egg. Do you guys have any ideas? It is coins. So if you remember from the scripture, Judas sold Jesus for coins. Right, next we have our purple egg. And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." Matthew 26, 27-28. Do you guys have any ideas? It is a cup. So if you guys attend church, you probably have seen communion before, and this was the very first communion. And that's where our communion comes from. Next is our orange egg. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch." Mark 14, 32-34. So this one might be a little harder to guess, but inside we have some praying hands. It's so important to pray, whether we're happy or sad or stressed or whatever it may be. Next we have our green egg. Then Pilate took Jesus and flogged him. John 19:1. So if you don't know what flogged means, it means he whipped him. And that is what we have inside, is a whip. They beat Jesus and spit on him and did some really cruel things to him. But at the end, you'll find out that Jesus loved us so much and what he actually did for us, even though they were so mean to him. Next, we have our yellow egg. But Peter began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear, "I do not know this man of whom you speak." And immediately the rooster crowed a second time. And Peter remembered how Jesus had said to him, "Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And he broke down and wept. Mark 14, 71-72. So what do you think is going to be in here? A rooster. So how many times did the rooster crow? Oh, I don't think he's going to stand up. So we've got our rooster. Next, we have our orange. Crown of thorns. Then the soldier of the governor took Jesus into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of Jews!" Matthew 27:27 through 29. So inside is a crown of thorns. So just one more thing they did to just torture Jesus and make fun of him and tease him, and they didn't believe that he was who he said he was. But even through all of that, Jesus still loved them, and he still did what the Lord asked him to do because of his love for them and for us. Next is our green egg. So they took Jesus, and he went out, bearing his own cross, to the place called the place of a skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on either side, and Jesus between them. John 19:16 through 18. So inside, we have a cross made out of nails. So Jesus was put on a cross, and nails were put into him to hang him on the cross to die. Next, we have our purple. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who had been crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and at once there came out blood and water. John 19:32 through 34. So inside we will find a spear that they struck Jesus in the side with to make sure he was dead. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was also a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen shroud and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had cut in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the entrance of the tomb and went away. Matthew 27:57 through 60. So inside we find a white linen cloth that his body was wrapped in when he was buried. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. Matthew 28:2 through 4. So inside we'll find a stone. There was a big stone blocking the entryway of the tomb that he was in. So that is what that is. We are on our last egg. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay." Matthew 28:5 through 6. So you guys have an idea of what's inside? Nothing. It's empty. Are you surprised? Yeah, there's nothing in there because Jesus had rose from the grave and he was no longer in that tomb. He was alive. And so this story just reminds us of the true meaning of what Easter is. And so there's so much more to this story. And I wish I had the time to get into that with you, but I challenge you and your parents as a family to just go through the story again. Go through each of these eggs, and even if you don't have them, just go through the story and remember what each of these represent and what it means. I pray that this will be a time for you and your family just to connect closer to the Lord and just to understand the true meaning of what Easter is. I'm praying for you guys. I am praying for this Easter season. I hope to see you soon.